Welcome to r/AmITheButthole, where parents make bets on how much of a slut their daughter's gonna be. Am I the butthole for not allowing my grandmother around my baby because of something she lied about when I was 15? I'm a 28-year-old female. I'm married with 3 kids, 4-year-old twin boys and a 3-month-old girl. My grandmother is a 71-year-old woman. Back when I was 15, my mom had a set of twins, a boy and a girl. She was put on bed rest because a C-section had gone wrong and she lost a lot of blood. My mom needed help and I went to school full time, so she invited my grandmother into our home and charged no rent to help her out. At some point or another, my mom had threatened to kick her out because every morning my mom would check on the twins to find my brother missing. My grandmother, who's extremely overweight, had been taking my brother from his crib and was sleeping with him on her chest on the couch. My mom told her multiple times to stop and she refused, so mom threatened to kick her out. My grandmother's way of retaliating was to tell my mother, who had extreme postpartum depression, that my 2-month-old sister rolled off the bed and fell onto the tile floors. This never happened. This obviously caused extreme panic from my mom, which made her spiral because she was already suffering from the postpartum depression. Because of this, I don't want my grandmother anywhere near my baby. I lived out of state when my twins were born, so she didn't see them until they were 2 years old, and she was never allowed around them alone. However, now that I live in the States and have a baby, she's been harping on me to let her meet my daughter. I kept telling her no, but I gave her no reason until last night. I reminded her that I witnessed her causing my mom unnecessary panic, and I wouldn't be allowing her near my kid because I'm not going to chance her doing the same thing with me. My grandmother lost it, and really tried saying that that scenario never happened and that we made it all up to make her look bad. A lot of the families also sided with her. She told everyone. And they say that I need to let things go and stop living in the past. I've been told that I'm alienating my grandmother and that I'm going to destroy her by not letting her build a bond with my child. Am I the butthole? First off, that bit about her being destroyed by not being able to build a bond with her child is absolute BS. She never met the kid for the first 2 years of her life and she did just fine. Outside of that, OP, I see no problem with this. You get 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your baby, your rules. Your grandmother gets 2 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for buying my friend's childhood home? I've got a friend, Kay, that I've known since we were 5 and we're now in our mid-30s. We used to be close, but after university he moved to the United States for work, so we would only talk occasionally. In fact, I see his parents more often than I see him because pre-pandemic his dad would get the same train as me into London and sometimes we'd sit together. Anyway, me and my wife have a kid and would like one more at least, so we're looking to buy a house. We currently live in a 2-bedroom flat and it's getting small. We were looking at listings online when I came across my friend's childhood home. Turns out, his parents were looking to downsize and they were selling their house. Honestly, it was perfect for us. 5 bedrooms, garden space, close to the station. They'd even had a special line laid into their house for super high-speed internet. Something like 5 to 10 Gbps down. Seeing this, I phoned up my friend's dad and asked him about the house. He was very open to the idea of selling to me and even said that he was glad that it was staying in with the family. Our families are also really close. We dealt with each other directly, without an estate agent, and therefore he was able to give me a nice discount. All that was in October, but my friend Kay has been livid ever since. He kept saying how I bought his childhood and how I was taking advantage of his parents by having paid them less. His sister, on the other hand, was happy for me, and in lieu of a housewarming party, she sent my family a framed picture of our 2 families from when we were about 10 or so. While I didn't do anything wrong legally, I feel I may have stepped on Kay's toes by now living in a place where he grew up. Not the butthole OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. That being said, if I was thinking about buying the childhood home of one of my close friends, I would at least ask them if they're okay with it first. And if they said no, I would just move on, because personally I value friendships more than I value a new home. However, if it was some guy that I lost contact with and I hadn't spoken to in years, then yeah, screw him. Am I the butthole for not making it known that I understand Spanish to my girlfriend's family when they talked about me? I'm a 24-year-old male, and I'm not Hispanic or anything. I'm white and was adopted by my parents when I was 5. My mom is Mexican, so I learned Spanish from her. I'm pretty fluent, and I guess that surprises people sometimes because I don't look the part. I'm white, blonde hair, blue eyes, etc. Anyways, I've been with my girlfriend for a while who's Hispanic. I've never mentioned that I'm bilingual because the topic was just never brought up. A month ago, her family wanted to meet since we recently moved in together. We did it through Zoom. It was her parents, her grandma, and her sister. Everyone was welcoming and nice. Her grandma was the first to say something in Spanish, and her words surprised me because she was literally so nice talking to me, then suddenly switched to saying something else. ¿Por qué otro güero? Which basically translates to, why another white boy? Then she asked when she can set her up with one of her friend's nephews. My girlfriend told her to stop. Then her parents did the same. A couple of times during the conversation, they switched to Spanish whenever making a comment about me. My girlfriend, at least, always shut down their criticisms and told them to stop talking like that. To be honest, I didn't say anything because I was curious what their real thoughts on me were. It kinda sucked that they were so freely talking about me right to my face. I finally said something when her mom mentioned my girlfriend told her I was in college and asked what I'm studying. Her dad commented to her grandma in Spanish. No wonder he moved in with her if he's wasting all his money in school. See, the fact that we moved in together seems to be their hang-up with me. They are not happy that we moved in with each other and think that because she works full-time and I work part-time that we did it so I can mooch off of her. But that's not even true because we split the bills for everything. So, I answered in Spanish. We moved in together because we wanted to take the next step in our relationship and we love each other. Then I answered her mom's question and added that I have several scholarships that pay for everything, so what I earn goes to living expenses. They all looked panicked and right away apologized 1,000,000 times for what they said. My girlfriend was shocked too, but she didn't have an issue with what I did and thought the looks on their faces were hilarious. She only felt bad that I didn't know what they were saying all along and apologized. Her sister is telling us that what I did was petty and mean because I embarrassed them. That I should have said I knew Spanish because that was a conversation I wasn't meant to understand or be a part of. Therefore, it wasn't my business to listen in. It's like I was eavesdropping on them. I get that eavesdropping is bad and they wouldn't have said anything if they knew I understood, so I guess I can see where she's coming from. Was I the butthole for not saying anything? So she thinks that you don't have a right to know what's being said during a Zoom call that you're a part of, when you yourself are the subject of that Zoom call. No, that's just stupid BS logic. They did something wrong, they got caught, and now they're trying to flip it back on you because they're embarrassed about it. Hearing what someone says when they're talking about you and looking at you in the eye isn't called eavesdropping, that's just called listening. Also, I'll be honest, it's pretty stupid to assume that an American guy doesn't know any Spanish. Sure, admittedly most Americans don't know Spanish, but I think most Americans know a couple of words. So even if you can't understand a full sentence, you can typically pick up a couple of words and figure out the context. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes, and your girlfriend's family gets 2 out of 5 buttholes. I'll also give your girlfriend 0 out of 5 buttholes for defending you. Am I the butthole for asking if my cousin made her first million yet? I'm currently outside on our terrace while my family is gathered in the living room after having asked me to step outside for a bit because apparently I've ruined the mood. I'm turning to you guys to ask if I'm the butthole for what I just did. My family from all over the city has gathered to celebrate the New Year's. COVID cases are thankfully low in my city and we've taken the necessary precautions. As is typical of Asian family reunions, the old people in the family love to check up on their nieces and nephews. One of my aunts, A, loves to show off her kids' achievements, particularly her daughter Pat. While listing off her daughter's achievements, passing the bar and recently getting married to a fellow lawyer, my aunt turned to me and asked what I've achieved in 2020. She began to list off all of my lack of achievements, like how I'm 30 and still unmarried. I'm a dude if that matters. About how I'm still living at home with my parents and how I'm still driving my sucky 2000-something Civic. My other cousins joined in on the jeering and listed all the other failed aspects of my life. Now, I graduated with a degree in architecture, but after multiple attempts, I just can't seem to pass the exam. This has been a point of contention in the family because my other cousins are lawyers, teachers, etc. These days, I basically work freelance from home. I don't know why, but my aunt's condescending voice got to me and I said, I made my first million this year. Has Pat made her first million yet? Then I turned to my cousins and I asked the same. Have you guys made your first million yet? Because I have. The room fell silent. I basically killed the mood. My dad asked me to go outside and relax because apparently I might have just ruined everyone's New Year celebration. Was I the butthole? Nah, OP, down in the comments the Mirror's Truth sums it up. Not the butthole. Why does everyone get to dump on you without you defending yourself? That should have ruined the nights for your parents, them dumping on you like this. And then Hello Friends adds, it's all fun and games when they attack without reprisal, but the moment you hit them back with their own medicine, silence. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your cousins and aunt 2 out of 5 buttholes. Also, congrats on your first million. They say the first million is the hardest, so million number 2 should be right around the corner. Am I the butthole for giving my family the silent treatment over their slut bet? I'm a freshman in college, and before college, I was homeschooled basically my whole life. Because of that, I have pretty bad social anxiety. Regardless of that, I was really excited to go to college and finally have my freedom. My parents really didn't want me to go and threw a huge fit about it since they think I only want to go to sleep around and drink. Every time I spoke to them while I was away, they would try to get me to come back home, so I stopped answering their calls as often, which really pissed my mom off. I went from talking to my parents multiple times a day to around once a week, though I would still speak with my siblings. They were literally obsessed with the idea of me leaving their home and becoming a whore, which was odd because they'd never been like that before. They had this idea that I'm a good girl gone wild, but they used to let me have co-ed sleepovers and hang out with guys whenever I wanted. Anyways, I was talking to my 15-year-old sister and she told me about this bet that my family had made. I guess in retaliation for me not answering their calls, they were betting if I'd become a slut in college. They were speculating on when I'd lose my virginity, how many guys I'd sleep with, if I'd sleep with a girl, etc. She sent me a few screenshots, and it seemed almost like a big passive-aggressive joke. It wasn't just my parents in it, it had my siblings, cousins, and aunts. While they were seemingly kidding, I felt extremely embarrassed. I didn't know how to bring it up because I didn't want my sister to get in trouble for showing it to me, so it went on for quite a while. I finally texted my mom about it and asked her if she would please delete the chat or at least add me to it so it wasn't just my family talking and clowning about me behind my back. I didn't mention that it was my sister who had shown it to me. My mother insisted that they weren't talking about me and that I was being a prima donna even though I literally have evidence. Since it was obvious that they weren't going to delete it, I told my mom that I wasn't going home for Christmas and I wasn't going to come visit after her surgery, partially out of anger and because of embarrassment. Christmas is my mom's favorite holiday and she always goes all out for it. She wanted me to be her caretaker after the surgery since after Christmas money will be tight and she didn't want to pay for a professional. She says that I'm abandoning her and I think that she stabbed me in the back. Am I the butthole? No, OP. Your parents alienated you, and now you're alienated. What were they expecting? Just tell your parents you can't make it because you have an orgy scheduled for that day. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes, and I'm giving your parents 3 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for expecting my boyfriend to replace all my socks, the exact same ones as I had before? This might seem silly. I'm a 24-year-old woman, and I like wearing cheerful socks since my uniform is all white. I'm currently working as a phlebotomist, and it usually cheers up the patients too. I've spent a few years collecting strange socks, ones with sushi, pizza, corgis, cats, Nick Cage, etc. I think I had about 30 pairs. My 29-year-old boyfriend has always hated them and thinks they're childish. So I agreed to only wear them to work and never on dates or around his friends or family. I thought that was fair. On Boxing Day, his parents came over for coffee and gifts. I accidentally put on a pair of childish socks and his mother made a comment about it. I explained that I wear them at work to cheer people up and she liked that. My boyfriend didn't. The next day, all of my socks were gone and the drawer was filled with plain black socks. I asked my boyfriend and he told me that he threw them away and purchased some more appropriate socks so that I won't embarrass him in front of his parents again. I told him that's insane. They were mine and he had no right to throw them away. Not to mention that I spent quite some time collecting them. So I made a list of the ones I remembered I had and told him I expect the same ones as a replacement. He told me that's completely unreasonable and that it would take a lot of time, effort, and money for him to find those specific pairs. I haven't changed my mind yet. They cost me a lot of time and effort to find too. I think he's being controlling. He thinks I'm being unreasonable and demanding. Am I the butthole? I think I might be a butthole for asking for the exact same pairs. I know that'll take him a lot of effort to find. OP, this is super easy to figure out. Take something that your boyfriend loves and throw it away and say it was just childish. Your boyfriend will freak out, of course, because why wouldn't he? You can't just throw away someone else's property and expect to get away with it scot-free. Your boyfriend sounds like a major douchebag. I'm giving him 3 out of 5 buttholes and I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. That was r/AmITheButthole, and if you like this content, check out my Patreon where I publish extra episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.